Yeah, absolutely. And Clay, this is now, I think, the biggest opportunity for veterans. This is the missing link that we've all complained about, who have been out for a while, and this thing didn't exist when we got out. So, for those that don't know, now in today's world of military, when you get ready to discharge, right, whether it's a retirement or you're just exiting service, you can do what's called a benefits delivery at discharge. You can file a claim with the VA while you are still in service. 3 to 6 months from discharge is your window of opportunity there. If you have 2 months until you exit, oh well, you got to wait.
Hmm.
So that 3 to 6 months, obviously, the further back you go, the better, because that claim will work in tandem as you're getting out. And so that's a great thing. But the really important piece of this, Clay, I think beyond that, and when you couple it with videos like we do here on Veterans Daily, on your channel, the Civ Div, and on mine, Veterans Info Tap, when you couple in the knowledge that you get from channels like ours and the ability to do a BDD claim, all of a sudden you are very, very efficient with that process, because there's a couple things that happen. You've been focused on mission and everything else with the military, and now all of a sudden you're shifting gears and you're doing a complete 180 mind shift, with documenting illnesses, injuries, conditions, whatever. And sometimes that takes a minute to turn that ship. But the good news is, Clay, is that for folks that are in anything, that they go and have that conversation and get, you know what, I've had migraines since I've been on. I just was told not to go get it documented, or I just didn't want to go because I didn't want any repercussions. I just took handfuls of Motrin. Well, now that I'm doing my benefits delivery at discharge, I'm going to go get that because I'm educated. Like you always say, Clay, the most important aspect would be an educated veteran through this process. So now they can go get diagnosed for migraines, get that documented in service, creating the Nexus, right? Everybody complains about Nexus, Clay. The fact that it's so hard to get a Nexus for their
Hmm.
condition, they get denied. This is how you fix that problem. And I'd love for you to kind of expand on that aspect a little bit, and any other things you want to talk about BDD.
Yeah, so the beauty about a BDD is when I say it's easy, it's dumb easy. Okay. You can, in fact, not even know that YouTube channels exist for VBA. You could not even know what to claim on a BDD claim. You're gonna need a solid VSO though, that is for sure. But you go through that process, you talk to the VSO, and you will get service connected. That's how easy it is. And the reason why it's easy is exactly what you just said, Jason. It's the requirement of the Nexus. So the Nexus is still needed. Don't want everyone to think that the Nexus is not being written. It is, but it's super easy. As if a veteran has a chronic diagnosis in service, even at the CMP exam. Now, ideally, you want documented records in service. But who has that, right? Who is going to medical? Even if you do a 4-year enlistment, especially the one-termers, you're not spending time at medical because you will be that guy, right? So even if you don't have documentation, but the CMP examiner sees a chronic diagnosis, you will be service connected. The Nexus is there. The only way I can see a complicated Nexus coming out of a BDD claim is for an aggravation basis of service. So, for instance, you had asymptomatic flat feet in your MEPS exam when you joined the military, and now you have chronic flat feet, which not necessarily doesn't show a decline, but it doesn't show a steep decline, and that's the aggravation. So, outside of aggravation basis claims, if you're looking at direct, that is the way to go. And something I do want to add, just to kind of bring it into everyone's perspective, the amount of people that reach out to me to help them with their claim, I can't help you. I'm sorry. It's so many, I can't do it. But I always respond to BDD claim people because they say, hey, I don't know what to do for my BDD claim. What do I do? This, that, or the other. There are 4 steps, Jason. There are 4 things that active duty service members need to do. One is at 180 days, not at 91, right? Although it's within the window, at 180, submit your BDD claim. So you need to figure out what it is you want to submit. And you can be general. My back hurts, lower back pain, mental health. You do not have to claim major depressive disorder. The VA will do what I call VA stuff, right? So step one is figure out what it is you want to submit. Step two is actually go submit that claim with the VSO. Step three, and this one depends on time, is whatever you don't have documentation for, go get documentation for. That part's optional, right? If you have the time. And then step four is you're going to be required to do an exit exam. Even if your post or you're based for whatever reason, because of time, you don't do a final physical, which is the case for a lot of veterans, which is wrong, by the way. The VA requires a separation health assessment, SHA. There's a VA form to that. If you just Google separation health assessment, you do it. But the beauty about the SHA is it has like a checklist box that says, do you have back pain? Does your head hurt? Does this hurt? You just check yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Essentially, that's what you claim. So they go hand in hand, right? And that's it. There is no, I need to worry about the Nexus. I need to get a Nexus letter. I need to worry about secondaries. There are no secondaries in BDD claims. It's just direct, right? Even if we're talking about radiculopathy to a lower spine condition, which I get it, is secondary in nature. For the basis of service connection, it's just direct. Now, 1 year later, that becomes a secondary basis, and that's where most veterans fall into, and we're going to cross that road. But the burden of evidence is kind of off the veteran's shoulders. The burden of the nexus is off the veteran's shoulders. What matters most is a chronic diagnosis, right? If you have a stuffy nose, that's not rhinitis. If you have built up polyps and that has been continuous for a year and a half, that is a chronic diagnosis, right? If you rolled your ankle once and now you're fine, that's acute. Okay, so what? Whatever. If your cartilage has deteriorated in your ankle over time, that is a chronic diagnosis. And so you have to have an actual injury. And if that's the case, I swear on my life, you will be service connected. There's one more thing I want to throw in, Jason, and then I'll pass it back to you, is there's so many programs for active duty service members, like getting a job during your last 6 months. I forgot what that program's called. It's a complete brain fart, and I'm kind of embarrassed right now. But whatever that program's called, you can start working as an intern in some career position, some career field, whatever. That might be in Texas. You're stationed in California. That might be in Texas. You need to let the VA know what your plan is, because once you submit that BDD claim, you are agreeing to, within the next 45 days, and I think that's the time frame, to show up to those C&P exams. And so if you're moving or you got this or that going on, you really need to keep in touch with your VSO and with the VA for, like, if you're moving, because if you have a C&P exam after service in California and you're in Texas, you can see how that's going to be an issue, right? I have one more thing to add, but I'm gonna push it back to you. What do you got, Jason?